Welcome to Locks DFS preview of the Week 4 Monday Night Football Showdown, $250K first prize on DraftKings.com between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. I almost said the Royals, but baseball season's over. I'm with Taylor. We don't have Addie with us right now, so we're just going to do me and Taylor going through Monday Night Football. I think this will be a fun game. I can pull up. I'm stuck on the screen here, and you're not going to see the full screen when I pull up the totals here. But I will pull them up for you guys anyway, and maybe you'll be able to see them. Maybe you won't.
Yeah, I really like this game,
Just
from an offensive standpoint, because I think the Broncos took a step back a bit defensively. So
okay, so you can't see my full screen, but the top is the Chiefs and the bottom is the Broncos. So the Chiefs have a 29 implied team total. The Broncos are 25.5. You can see the Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points, and you can see some of the movement on the team totals here from Fantasy Labs. This is a very great tool if you guys don't use it. I'm a big fan of it.
And it's free.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, 54.5 game total on a showdown slate. It's exciting for sure.
Definitely. Definitely one that any game it seems like this year with the Chiefs offense in it is one that we think is probably going to be more of a high scoring game. I think that's probably safe to assume.
You're right.
So me and Taylor kind of talked about it before, and this is a slate where we know, like we talked about on previous showdown slates, we know that the optimal is kind of to go with these quarterback ones, and obviously you've got a guy like Mahomes who is the number one price guy on the slate today, but you've also got Case Keenum here at 9.8. But we were talking about it before, and we're kind of thinking both quarterbacks might be the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Just because both teams they have so many options in the passing game that's kind of hard to pin them down. And like the number one option outside of quarterbacks is Tyreek Hill, which while Tyreek Hill is really, really good, he's really not on the field that much and doesn't run that many routes, as surprising as that may be. So yeah, he's only got 8, 6, and 2 and 5 targets the first 3 weeks. So I don't know. This guy is definitely going to make or break the slate, whether you play him or not. It's definitely not optimal to play him in cash games, at least. And he definitely has all the upside in the world in GPPs. Because I think week 1 he ran 21 routes, yet scored 45.3 fantasy points, which is like absolutely absurd.
So crazy.
Yeah. So I think guys like Emmanuel Sanders or Travis Kelce or even Demaryius Thomas are just a lot safer, especially for their prices.
Yeah. I definitely think Tyreek Hill is the number one option. If you're looking for the number one option in terms of upside, his ceiling is crazy, and we all know that, especially with special teams in there as well. The matchup isn't great here, but the Chiefs, like we already said, are going to put points up in this game. And he could obviously be the guy who gets those touchdowns. And obviously last week, 2 of the touchdowns they scored, they've been putting up points every week, and 2 of those touchdowns they scored went to Kareem Hunt, which, might keep happening if they end up at the 1-yard line, but this guy's not going to score touchdowns if they're not at the 1-yard line. So, that's 2 other touchdowns that can kind of be spread out, so. I don't know, something to think about. I probably won't end up with Tyreek in my lineup at this price, like Taylor said, just for the touches. The guy that we're looking at receiver is probably going to be Emmanuel Sanders. And Taylor, do you kind of want to talk about why he's our top receiving target on the slate?
He's just like I know that Demaryius Thomas leads Denver in air yards, but if you watch the games and really look at it, Emmanuel Sanders is pretty clearly the number one receiver there. And in showdown formats, we do like to save a lot at the captain spot. It makes sense to choose like the highest scorer. Like Mahomes is probably going to be the highest scorer, but he's just so expensive, and it limits how many pieces you can get in the offense or in your lineup. So a guy like Emmanuel Sanders is where we're looking at. It's the clear number one in the shootout.
Yeah, and we both really like Emmanuel Sanders' floor. Obviously, there's 1 4-target game here, but you got 11 targets, 8 targets. This is a guy who plays in the slot, who the Chiefs, a position the Chiefs have struggled to cover all year. The Chiefs' defense in terms of secondary is real. It's
real abysmal.
Yeah, it's really not a whole lot there.
Especially the secondary.
Yeah. Sanders has shown a lot more explosion to me than Demaryius Thomas. They're putting the ball in Demaryius Thomas' hands. They're doing everything they can to get the ball in Demaryius Thomas' hands, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. They don't seem to have a propensity to want to change that. He's getting the target numbers. They're drawing up plays just for Demaryius Thomas, even though this guy is turning 30 this year, and he looks it. He looks every bit of it.
Well, he looks like 40, honestly.
Yeah, his legs just aren't there anymore. And he's also hasn't. I think he's had a few drops, at least in the first few weeks he did. I don't know how he did last week, but So, yeah, for me, Sanders, in terms of the floor and the upside he provides based on the matchup, based on the game flow, if you think the Chiefs are going to get up, which I think you could probably project possibly without how explosive this offense is. I just really like Sanders as an MVP. Also, in terms of tournaments, it seems like the top tournament strategy people try to go with is going with receivers just because you get one PPR and receivers are more likely to break the long play than any other position. Or multiple long plays in any position. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of people going with. I mean, you saw Cooper Kupp the other day. Obviously, that's like an outlandish game when he had like 3 touchdowns. But I mean, that's what you're not going for a 40-point game of receiver usually, but usually receivers can get you. I think probably the highest upside while still providing a floor because of their catches.
Yeah, it's just like how the NFL is like progressing and evolving. Like all the games going to more passing heavy, and that's why, especially in PPR side, you want to play that. And even the running backs don't really run the ball that much anymore. They're catching a lot. That's why Alvin Kamara is so good, and Christian McCaffrey and guys like that. That's why they excel so much. But I think a guy that I like a lot to save money in this game, because while we could go the easy route, just play the kickers, because like we said before, the easiest route, the most optimal route is probably to get both QB1s, both kickers, and what 2 pieces that you can fit in. But with Jake Butt on IR, he's gotten 4, 6, and 3 targets last couple of games. It's not that many, but it still gives like more upside to everyone else in a higher floor, just because there's more targets to go around. Is a guy like Cortland Sutton, who he has 230 air yards, and I can't find him.
He's had a few drops this year, but I can't pull up air yards because I've got my screen recording on. But
not that, but his
WRPR,
his snap percent.
I
think it's somewhere around
like up around it's like right there with Emmanuel Sanders actually in like the 68, 70, low 70, somewhere in there. So
yeah, they like to play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and he's always the 3rd wide receiver.
Yeah.
Chiefs definitely a burnable defense, and in a likely shootout, he's probably going to get his. He does get targets in the game.
I think if we think about in terms of game flows, like they've controlled these first 2 games. You saw last week versus Baltimore, which, as we're seeing on this Sunday night, is a decent defense, especially when they have Jimmy Smith on the field, which I believe they did for most of that game. I think I think this is a game. This is probably the first game you see on this docket here for me where Sutton has the positive game flow for him to kind of get some targets. And this is a guy who is talented, who I think definitely should be priced higher than 3.6K for his role on the team. That's just my opinion. But then again, he is the number 3 receiver on this team. Clearly, they've got 2 target monsters on this team. So.
Yeah, and he's like the same exact price as the kickers, just a couple hundred more. I think he brings about the same floor as them, but just immensely more, like the upside is immensely higher. I don't know. I don't know. I like it a lot.
So I guess for me at the captain, just because we didn't finish talking, you said we like Sanders at the captain. For me, I would say probably if I'm throwing out GPP teams, probably 80% of my teams are going to be one of these 3 in the captain, being the 2 quarterbacks and Sanders. I would probably say 80% is going to go there. Although obviously going a quarterback in your MVP does limit you a little bit salary-wise. You're going to have to take a guy like Cortland Sutton, take a guy like Taylor mentioned that Jake Butt is out. Obviously, Huerman's going to step in for him. He's here at 2K. You're going to take a guy maybe like Jeff Huerman way down there as well. Really not a lot of options on the Chiefs down here for cheap. All these guys, Spencer Ware, DeAnthony Thomas, Demetrius Harris, all these guys are going to get in for a few snaps, but they don't really have prominent roles, not prominent enough to project them for real fantasy points. The first one that really comes up is Jeff Huerman, and then you've got Chris Conley he's their 3rd wide receiver, but not a big enough role that I am considering him by any means. For me, it's pretty much just Huerman under the defenses offensively.
Yeah, the Chiefs' offense is weird because it's so explosive and so good, but not really any pieces outside of Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, like we talked about, and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce I like a lot, but he's super expensive. But it's hard to imagine him not getting 8, 9, 10 targets this game and having a big role. But I think the most optimal thing is just to play both quarterbacks for sure. Sanders. I like Cortland Sutton a lot. I don't know. Throw Sutton in there and see what we can do with that.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. 5,000
In
left.
both
So
running games, it's hard because the Chiefs pass so much. Kareem Hunt doesn't really run the ball that much, and they don't really pass to him anymore like they did last year with Nagy at coach and Alex Smith at quarterback.
I think you can go ahead and say Kareem Hunt's like maybe the worst play on the slate.
Yeah, given price, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, last week, people who played him last week got like unbelievably. It was crazy how much they got bailed out. Just because I don't know.
Lucky. I felt so fortunate. No, he's not. He's not a part of what Andy Reid wants to do. It's very clear that he's not. That's not what they're going to do. They're not going to run it up the gut, and that's not their game. So they're going to spread it out all over the field, and that's another reason why that all these guys that are listed down here are getting just a few snaps. He has all these role players he's going to bring in for a few plays. Especially a guy like Demetrius Harris. Like this is a guy who is a super athletic, but they use him very sparingly, and they have certain rules. I mean, Reid's a smart guy. He's not just going to run the ball up the gut anymore.
Right.
So,
I view like all the running backs as pretty much just dart. They're just GPP plays to me. Like I would never ever play them in cash. I wouldn't play Royce Freeman. I wouldn't play Lindsey. I think Lindsey's good. I think Lindsey and Freeman are both good, but they kind of eat into each other. The only reason Freeman did so well last week is because Lindsey got ejected.
If Lindsey was cheaper, I'd have a little bit of interest. Just because he should be in on the passing role. He should have the passing role. So if they get down, I feel like he'll be in. They haven't really showed a propensity to want to use Freeman like that a lot, but
Freeman's extremely game script dependent. They have to be up in the game to be doing well for him to like continue to get the rock.
Right. Obviously, both the kickers again are in play as usual. But right now with Sutton, we've got 5K left. With Sutton in here, we've got 5K left.
We could stick in Hiraman, but then I don't know. That's really punty. I don't know. We have all of Denver's offense, and then we could maybe fit in.
What I was looking at before the podcast is that I do go Hiraman. Chiefs are pretty bad versus tight end, so if he gets targets, I think that he could possibly do some damage with them. I know he's going to be in the goal line. And then I go with a guy like Sammy Watkins, another guy who I think has a set in.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
He has a set in floor on an offense that's super explosive. I feel like that's a good move. I mean, Demaryius Thomas here isn't bad either because, again, another guy who has set in floor, but Sammy Watkins can do so much more with his targets. And the targets have been coming for Sammy Watkins. He's a very important part of this offense so far through the year. So yeah,
he's looked a lot more involved over the past two games rather than the first one.
And you get back,
so it could take some time.
You get back here and you can actually plug in Royce Freeman still if you want to stick just offensive in this game, or you can go with the defense.
But we don't have Sutton. Wouldn't you prefer Sutton to Freeman?
Wouldn't I prefer? Yeah. I prefer Sutton to Freeman. Yeah. So that's where we landed. We put Sanders in captain with both quarterbacks and tight end and Watkins, with Huraman and Watkins, and then we've got kicker / Sutton left. These are all. If I was playing this team, I'd probably be throwing all three of these guys, one entry on all three of these guys, and just see what happens there. That's me. Also, just for like shits, I'm gonna build a team with Jeff Heuerman in the captain, because he could get 4 catches.
It's definitely a strategy to go. Just because if you punt, it's not really punting, but if you get like your cheapest player in the captain spot, you can fit in so many pieces, especially in a game like this where there's so many offensive pieces that you want.
Let's do instead of him, let's do Sutton. Yeah, I think Sutton has a lot more upside than Heuerman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So let's just put him in, and then all right. So now we've got Sutton in the captain. Let's just go ahead and plug Sanders back in. We still like Sanders even with.
Yeah,
Sutton.
I love Sanders.
See, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really do a whole lot for you actually. Look at that. I mean, he opens up a little bit extra salary, but not much. So sometimes that just sometimes with the way the players you switch in, that just happens. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, kind of weird.
But anyway, so that's kind of where we're landing. The gist. So we're not gonna be able to get in if you do go Sanders, Mahomes, Keenum, Watkins. You're not gonna be able to get in 2 kickers. So that's pretty much gonna. If you are trying to go 2 kickers, you have to get off Watkins.
And then your team kind of looks gross.
Right, exactly. So
well, I don't know. I guess it's not too bad. It's in. Well, yeah, no, I don't know. I would prefer to go with Sutton because I think Sutton's floor is just it's about the same. And honestly, Heuerman's not too far off of those kickers. Obviously, the upside's a lot higher.
To finish this team, if we're being honest.
Oh, you can go Chris Conley there.
Yeah, you can.
He plays like 60% of the snaps.
You could go Chris Conley.
He's a clear wide receiver 3, but he's just hard to go to him. Honestly, it's the same thing as Sutton, except I think Sutton's a lot more talented.
I also think Denver uses their peripheral targets less than Kansas City uses their peripheral targets.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you get down there, you're just taking chances, but any of them could really score.
Definitely. Do
Yeah.
we want to try to finish the lineup? Because I'm honestly struggling right now.
No, I think it's Sanders, Mahomes. I think we had it. I think it's Sanders, Mahomes, Keenum, Hiraman,
I think
Watkins.
Yeah. Hiraman, Watkins, and then Sutton.
Yeah.
Leave the 400. All right. That's
Actually,
kind of
I don't know. Wait,
for now.
I think I like Conley more than Hiraman.
You can't go. Oh, you can do that. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I'm with that. I'm not against that. I might go Hiraman. I like the matchup. Kansas City's been coughing up.
Very true. Yeah, that is true. That makes a lot of sense.
They've got nothing in the middle of the field right now.
I mean, we're really giving Denver no respect here defensively.
True.
I don't know. I like that. It's tough between Hiraman and.
I mean, if you play this team, it's just destined that Demaryius Thomas is going to get all the touchdowns.
Yes.
You have the entire passing offense, and it's just Demaryius Thomas just comes down with them. Because they're giving this guy targets. I guess this podcast, what you should take away is all these Denver guys are in play against Kansas City's defense.
Yep, and that's going to be the case every week against the Chiefs.
If I don't know what to say about Huraman versus Sutton, honestly. I think Sutton. I guess what I would say is that Huraman is, if you're looking for 5 points guaranteed, he seems to play safer, but Sutton has a way higher upside for me.
Right, I definitely like Sutton way more than all.
Huraman's never been a pass catching tight end in his career.
Right.
So, usually if you're going to take a guy like today, I was taking a guy like Max Williams, or why am I blanking on the other tight end I played? His name, forget it. Usually you're looking for guys who have caught the ball in college at least, at the least. So he hasn't.
It is promising that he got 4 targets, but it kind of seems like fool's gold a little bit.
But anyway, yeah. Hopefully you guys got. Is there anything else we should add? I also want to say, I think I mentioned this on the look ahead or something, but I like I don't know when I said it, but I think Travis Kelce might go under at this price.
Oh yeah, I know. I kind of want to jam him in.
So yeah,
that's definitely a route you could go. I mean, you could. Well, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of routes you could go.
Denver's defense is solid. This is gonna be an interesting game. I still think Kansas City's gonna be able to break them down, but
I think so as well. There's just too many pieces. Mahomes too good. Imagine how far he can throw it. Denver.
Definitely. I would say the top 3, the top 3 plays on the slate for us are the 2 quarterbacks and the wide receiver. Just because we know these offenses are going to score points, we don't feel very certain about where they're going to come from. Other than I do feel pretty certain about Sanders getting
very certain about Sanders,
important targets. Other than that, these guys they could really go anywhere. So that's a perfect game where you're trying to get the quarterbacks. So yeah, I think that should probably wrap it up for us. Hopefully that gave you a good insight and gave you some good cheap plays. The guys who are on our radar basically down here for cheap were Cortland Sutton and Chris Conley and Huraman.
Yep.
Honestly, you should if you are playing Huraman, and I will be doing the same thing. I do the same thing with tight ends. Every showdown is just look at the inactives and kind of see because those tight ends can always be interesting. They might only activate 2. Or they might be activating a certain one that has more pass catching ability, like Rico Gathers when that game, he ended up getting a freaking end zone target. Anyway,
right.
Weird stuff like that can happen. So when you're going to guys like Jeff Huraman, just kind of pay attention and see if anything will happen. But that's kind of our build. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and good luck on your Monday Night Football building, and hopefully you can take down 250K.
Yeah,
get it.
A lot of money out there.
And all right, we'll be back for our Week 3 review, which was it'll be a good review. It'll be lots of fun because we did well this week.
Yeah,
and
just
then,
a little preview. We won literally everything.
Yeah, we did really well.
We cashed GPPs, everything. Both sites, early only, afternoon slate, and the main slate. And then
we do everything. I don't know if people know that, but
yeah, and the showdown's going right now. So
yeah, the showdown's going. And then what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. We'll be back with the Week 4 review and the Week 5 very first look ahead, very first look. We haven't looked at the prices yet, so we'll be doing that for the first time tomorrow on the podcast. So go ahead and check that out. And also be sure to follow us at Locks DFS if you want to see our final showdown lineups. Per usual, they're on locksdfs.com and just to see exactly what we're playing in cash and that sort of thing. All right. With that all said, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.